Story 1. It was a year ago when my loneliness and boredom pushed me to download Tinder once again. The world had begun to recover from the pandemic, and I thought it would be a harmless way to meet new people. My previous experiences hadn't been extraordinary, but I had met some decent individuals. Little did I know that this time would be far from ordinary. Her name was Haley, a blonde girl I connected with on Tinder. She seemed alright initially, so we decided to meet up. Loneliness clouded my judgment, and I was eager for a genuine connection. In hindsight, I should have seen the red flags, but her attractiveness and my desperation blinded me to the warning signs. She insisted on coming to my house, ignoring the conventional options of a casual outing. Reluctantly, I agreed, making excuses to hide my messy living space. When the time came, she arrived at my doorstep. Awkwardness enveloped the air as I noticed that she looked slightly different from her Tinder photos. Uncertainty nagged at me, but I chose to ignore it, fearing that I might appear rude. Desperate for companionship, I brushed off my suspicions and engaged in conversation. Things appeared to be going fine until she inquired about alcoholic beverages. She pressed me for alcohol, and I mentioned having a small amount of Jameson. Excusing myself to use the restroom, I returned to find her already seated on the couch, a drink prepared for me on the coffee table. Though I wasn't keen on drinking that night, I grabbed a beer from the fridge and opted for that instead. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent gesture would be the start of my descent into terror. As the night progressed and several beers later, Haley persistently urged me to drink the concoction she had prepared. Something about her insistence made me uneasy, triggering paranoid thoughts that she might have spiked my drink while I was in the bathroom. I wrestled with the decision but eventually succumbed to peer pressure, convincing myself that it was just my anxiety playing tricks on me. After all, she seemed like a nice girl, right? Little did I know what horrors awaited me. Shortly after consuming the drink, I began to feel strange. The room spun and a wave of dizziness washed over me. The last thing I remember was sitting on the couch, overwhelmed by an unfamiliar sensation. I abruptly lost consciousness, slipping into a dark void of oblivion. Hours later, I jolted awake, drenched in a state of panic and confusion. My body ached with intense pain, bruises marking my neck, arms, back, and stomach. Horror gripped me as I surveyed my surroundings. Blood stained my bed, floor, and walls, a ghastly scene that sent shivers down my spine. Breathless, I fumbled for my phone to call the police, only to discover it had been stolen, along with my 4 TVs, jewelry, and cash from my safes, amounting to over $20,000. My house lay in ruins, a testament to the chaos that unfolded in my absence. Every room bore the scars of destruction, shattered windows and vandalized possessions, evidence of the sheer devastation wreaked by an unhinged intruder. I gazed at my reflection, shattered by the reality of the nightmare I had awoken to. But the horrors had only just begun. As I examined the disturbing wound on my stomach, I recoiled in horror. They had used my own blood to trace a pentagram on the wall of my bedroom. Fear gripped me, and I scoured my dresser for an old phone. Connecting it to Wi-Fi, I reached out to a friend via FaceTime audio. Desperate and trembling, I relayed the chilling details to my friend, urging them to call the police immediately. The minutes that followed felt like an eternity as I anxiously awaited the arrival of the authorities. With each passing second, my fear intensified, wondering if the culprits were still lurking nearby. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the sound of sirens pierced the silence. The police arrived at my ravaged house, their presence bringing a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. I provided them with every detail I could recall, desperately hoping they could apprehend the individuals responsible for this heinous act. The investigation began, but the road to justice proved treacherous. The evidence was scarce, and the trail led to dead ends. It seemed as if the catfisher had covered their tracks meticulously, erasing any trace of their existence. My hopes of finding closure dwindled, and a sense of helplessness settled within me. Haunted by the nightmarish events, I made the difficult decision to move to a new house a few months later. The scars of that horrifying encounter were etched deep within me, but I refused to let fear control my life. Determined to protect myself, I installed security cameras and an ADT alarm system in my new home. The measures provided a semblance of security, a shield against the shadows that threatened my peace of mind. As time passed, the wounds slowly healed, both physical and emotional, but the memory of that fateful night would forever remain etched in my consciousness, a constant reminder of the darkness that resides in the hearts of some individuals. The experience taught me to be cautious, to trust my instincts, and to never underestimate the potential dangers lurking behind the digital veil. Sharing my story became a form of catharsis. Through social media and local support groups, I connected with others who had experienced similar traumas. Together, we raised awareness about the risks of online interactions and advocated for safer practices in the world of digital dating. While justice eluded me, I refused to let fear consume my life. Instead, I channeled my pain into activism, tirelessly campaigning for stricter regulations and safety measures within the online dating community. Through my advocacy, I aim to prevent others from falling victim to the same harrowing fate that befell me. Though the wounds may fade, the scars serve as a reminder of the resilience that lies within. I emerged from the darkness with newfound strength, determined to reclaim my life and help others navigate the treacherous waters of the virtual world. My experience became a cautionary tale, urging others to remain vigilant and prioritize their safety above all else. In the end, it was the power of resilience and the support of a community that helped me find solace amidst the chaos. The nightmares may persist, but so does my unwavering determination to fight for justice, protect the vulnerable, and ensure that no one else falls prey to the horrors that once consumed me. Story 2. A few years back, I made one of the most idiotic decisions of my life, which ultimately led me straight into a downright horrible and absolutely barbaric situation. I was just 18 years old at the time, having recently graduated from high school. It was the middle of August, and the days of my summer vacation had been painfully boring up until that point. Living alone with my abusive and overly protective father, my life was a constant struggle. My dad's emotional and psychological abuse made it nearly impossible for me to have any friends or enjoy any kind of personal freedom. Every day, I was confined to the house, either helping my father with endless chores or serving as his personal slave. He had even removed the door to my bedroom, leaving me feeling completely powerless and deprived of privacy. However, about a month before the incident, my dad got me a phone, although he still exercised strict control over its usage. He would usually take my phone away at 8 o'clock every night, but on the night of the incident, he came home extremely drunk, well past 10 o'clock. In his inebriated state, he either forgot about taking my phone or assumed I was already asleep. I suppose it was a combination of both factors. Having Tinder on my phone became an escape for me, a way to meet new people and socialize, something I desperately craved after years of isolation. I had been talking to a guy named Alex, 28 years old, whom I had connected with on Tinder just over a day ago. Our friendship progressed quickly, but I had to be cautious because of my father's snooping habits. Every night, I deleted any trace of forbidden apps from my phone, including Tinder. If my dad discovered I was on Tinder, he would have gone ballistic. During our conversations, I shared with Alex the dire situation I faced at home, and he offered a solution. I could come live with him. He reminded me that I was legally an adult now and no longer bound by my father's rules. The idea both excited and terrified me. I hesitated, expressing that I wasn't ready to make such a drastic move just yet, but I suggested we meet and hang out for the time being. To my relief, Alex agreed. We agreed that he would pick me up at midnight, and I made it clear that I needed to be back home by 4 a.m. I instructed him not to drive down the driveway but to park on the side of the road and text me when he arrived. A long driveway to my dad's house was a potential risk, as I feared my dad might wake up if he heard a car pulling in. I believed parking further away would be safer for both of us. Alex, punctual to the minute, showed up just past midnight and texted me as I had asked him to. I replied that I would be out in a few minutes. Sneaking out of my window, I cautiously made my way down the driveway, but to my surprise, I saw no signs of Alex. I had expected to see the faint glow of his car or some indication that he was there. Perhaps he had turned off his car to remain inconspicuous, considering the circumstances and my father's presence. As I walked down the driveway, about halfway to the road, I began to hear whispering. I paused, observing the situation. Then I heard a burst of laughter from a man, quickly followed by a return to whispering. Curiosity got the better of me, and I started walking again, trying to be as quiet as possible. I closed the gap until I was roughly 20 feet away from the person I presumed to be Alex. Finally, I could make out bits of the conversation. It became apparent that Alex was on the phone, engaged in a conversation where nobody seemed to be responding. Despite my inclination not to eavesdrop, the circumstances demanded that I stay on high alert. Little did I know that this decision would soon become a matter of life and death. As I strained to listen, the disturbing truth of the conversation unraveled before me. Alex began bragging to the unknown person on the other end of the line about how he was eagerly awaiting my arrival, expressing his sinister intention to rape the out of me and keep me alive for as long as possible. The grotesque words he uttered made my stomach churn, and I struggled to contain the rising wave of panic within me. Inadvertently, I made a slight noise, catching Alex's attention. His voice abruptly silenced, sending a chill down my spine. Should I retreat back into the safety of my house, or would hiding be a better option? Considering the circumstances, I chose the latter, fearing that any movement might attract unwanted attention. With a surge of adrenaline, I turned and sprinted back toward the house, veering sharply into the dense woods, seeking refuge in a spot I had discovered earlier. Huddled in my hiding place, minutes passed in agonizing silence. Not a single sound reached my ears, and I dared not move, my heart pounding against my ribcage. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, startling me. It was a text from Alex, asking, "Where are you?" I ignored the message and swiftly turned off the ringer. But Alex was persistent, bombarding me with a relentless flurry of calls and texts. After the 5th call, I decided it might be wiser to answer, concocting a lie as my only defense. Reluctantly, I picked up the phone, attempting to sound calm and composed. I fabricated an excuse about not being able to meet him that night, expressing regret and proposing that we reschedule for another time. However, Alex's intuition told him that something was amiss. He grew increasingly angry. his tone shifting from manipulation to outright verbal abuse. He hurled insults at me, attacking my self-worth and proclaiming that no one would ever love me. Then, in a chilling whisper, he uttered a sentence that sent shivers down my spine. "I know where you live. Just remember that. I hope you sleep tight, honey. I'll see you soon." The line went dead, and I was left trembling, consumed by fear and uncertainty. It became clear that Alex was not just a predator, but a genuine threat to my life. With a sleepless night ahead, I lay in bed, contemplating the gravity of the situation. Thoughts raced through my mind. Should I contact the police? Would they believe me without any concrete evidence? Fearful of potential retaliation, I chose to confide in my grandmother instead. The next morning, while my dad was at work, I summoned the courage to disclose everything to her. The horrifying encounter with Alex and the true extent of my father's abuse. My grandmother, who had always sensed the toxicity of my father's behavior, immediately took action. Without revealing anything to my dad, she came to pick me up, offering solace and support. Since that fateful night, my life has undergone a profound transformation. I have found genuine happiness and healing, surrounded by people who truly care for me. With the love and support of my girlfriend, I am working towards building a life of my own, a life free from the shadows of fear and abuse. However, the encounter with Alex continues to haunt me. Despite blocking him on Tinder and from my phone, the lingering fear remains. I attempted to report the incident to the police, but without substantial evidence, they were unable to take any meaningful action. It was a disheartening realization that Alex might still be out there, potentially harming others under his true name or a different alias. The thought of innocent individuals falling victim to his sadistic nature weighed heavily on my conscience. Determined to protect others from experiencing the same terror, I embarked on a personal mission to gather evidence against Alex. I delved into online forums, searching for any clues or patterns that might help me unveil his true identity. Likes turned into tireless investigations, scouring through social media profiles, dating platforms, and even local news reports. It was a race against time, driven by the urgency to expose his malevolence. During my relentless pursuit, I stumbled upon a chilling pattern, an alarming similarity between missing persons cases and unexplained deaths in different parts of the country. The details were eerily similar to the horrors Alex had described that night. The pieces started coming together, and my growing conviction that he was indeed a serial killer intensified. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I decided to take matters into my own hands. With the utmost caution, I began documenting every piece of evidence meticulously, collecting witness testimonies, compiling screenshots of conversations, and connecting the dots between his online presence and the unsolved crimes. It was a dangerous undertaking, but the lives at stake urged me forward. As the evidence amassed, I reached out to a renowned investigative journalist, hoping that shedding light on Alex's actions would prompt law enforcement agencies to take the matter seriously. Together, we constructed a comprehensive dossier outlining the potential threat posed by this individual. We included the stories of survivors, drawing attention to the patterns and seeking justice for those who had suffered in silence. The journalist's expose gained widespread attention, and public outrage grew as more victims stepped forward, sharing their own harrowing experiences with Alex. The pressure on the authorities intensified, forcing them to reopen cold cases and investigate the claims made against him. Months passed, filled with anticipation and anxiety, until finally a breakthrough occurred. The combined efforts of survivors, investigative journalists, and law enforcement led to the arrest of a man fitting Alex's description. The evidence against him was overwhelming, connecting him to a string of heinous crimes that had gone undetected for far too long. In the ensuing trial, the true extent of his depravity was laid bare and justice was served. Alex was found guilty on multiple counts of murder, assault, and kidnapping, ensuring that he would never pose a threat to society again. The closure brought solace not only to me but to all those affected by his reign of terror. Though scarred by the experience, I emerged stronger, vowing to raise awareness about the dangers lurking behind online platforms. I became an advocate for victims of abuse and a beacon of hope for those who had endured similar ordeals. With the support of organizations dedicated to ending violence and promoting safety, I dedicated myself to empowering others, sharing my story to emphasize the importance of speaking out and seeking help. Today, I continue to rebuild my life, embracing the love and support of my chosen family. The wounds inflicted by my father and the encounter with Alex serve as reminders of the resilience that lies within me. My journey is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to overcome darkness and find light, even in the most harrowing circumstances. As for Alex, his name has become synonymous with evil, a cautionary tale that reverberates through communities and reminds us of the importance of vigilance. Although he may have been a chapter in my life filled with horror, I choose not to dwell on the past. Instead, I focus on the present, cherishing the newfound freedom and the opportunity to make a positive impact in the world. The nightmare may have ended, but my story serves as a stark reminder that evil exists in the world, lurking in unexpected places. It compels me to remain vigilant, to advocate for the safety and protection of others. Through my experiences, I have become acutely aware of the importance of education, awareness, and prevention. in collaboration with organizations and support networks. I dedicate my time to conducting workshops and seminars on personal safety, online security, and recognizing warning signs of abusive behavior. My goal is to equip individuals, especially young people, with the knowledge and tools to protect themselves from potential harm. Additionally, I actively engage with lawmakers and policymakers, advocating for stricter regulations and accountability measures concerning online platforms. I emphasize the need for improved background checks, identity verification protocols, and increased resources for law enforcement agencies to combat online predators effectively. While my journey of healing continues, I have also embraced the power of storytelling. Through writing, public speaking, and media engagements, I aim to shed light on the often untold stories of survivors and victims of abuse. By sharing my own experiences, I strive to inspire empathy, compassion, and understanding among society, eradicating the stigma surrounding such issues. I have found solace in connecting with fellow survivors, forming a network of support and healing. Together, we share our stories, validate each other's experiences, and offer guidance and strength during the ongoing process of recovery. Through collective empowerment, we refuse to let our past define us, choosing instead to forge a path of resilience and growth. The horror I endured at the hands of my father and the encounter with Alex have shaped me into an advocate, an agent of change, and a voice for the voiceless. I am determined to transform the darkness I faced into a catalyst for positive transformation, striving to create a world where no one has to live in fear or suffer silently. My journey is far from over as I continue to learn, heal, and rebuild my life. With each step forward, I embrace the opportunity to make a difference, to empower others, and to foster a safer, more compassionate society. The scars I carry serve as a reminder of my strength, resilience, and unwavering commitment to bringing about change. Together, we can reclaim our narratives, heal our wounds, and build a brighter, safer tomorrow. Story 3. During my college years, I found myself caught up in the allure of online dating apps. Bumble and Tinder became my gateway to meeting new people and escaping the monotony of everyday life. Little did I know that this innocent pursuit would lead me down a path of foreign and horrifying experiences. One day, as I scrolled through profiles, I stumbled upon someone familiar. It was Claire, a girl I vaguely recognized from high school. We had never interacted before, despite having the same group of friends. Curiosity piqued my interest, and we engaged in a brief conversation about our past missed connections. Unexpectedly, Claire proposed that we hang out that very night. Excitement surged through me, although deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were moving too quickly. Ignoring my reservations, I agreed, attempting to play it cool and not reveal my eagerness. Claire provided me with her address and instructed me to come over anytime after 11 o'clock. It struck me as odd that she wanted to meet so late, but I brushed off the concern, not wanting to jeopardize the opportunity. She also mentioned bringing weed, a substance I didn't partake in. Nevertheless, I procured some for the occasion, unaware of the impending danger. Reflecting on that fateful night, I realized I should have been more cautious. I should have informed someone I trusted about my whereabouts, but blinded by my naive curiosity and fueled by youthful desire, I failed to take the necessary precautions. Little did I know, I was about to step into a nightmarish scenario that would forever haunt me. As I drove closer to the address, a strange uneasiness settled within me. The surroundings became unfamiliar, and anxiety crept in. The rundown neighborhood I found myself in didn't align with my expectations. Loud nodded me, urging me to reconsider, but I pressed on, hoping it was merely a momentary lapse of judgment. Arriving at the designated house, my heart sank. It exuded an eerie aura, shrouded in darkness save for a solitary light emanating from an upstairs window. I rolled down my foggy, tinted windows, trying to gather more information. Loud nodded me once again, and instinct screamed for me to retreat. The house seemed abandoned, sending chills down my spine. Overwhelmed by a sense of foreboding, I decided to drive away. But within moments, a notification from Claire appeared on my phone, questioning my sudden departure and urging me to return. Second-guessing myself, I convinced myself it was all a misunderstanding and drove back, foolishly hoping it wasn't a setup. Upon arriving, I requested that Claire come outside to meet me. Instead, she mockingly labeled me a wimp and assured me she was getting ready. She nonchalantly instructed me to enter the house, claiming the door was unlocked. Still hesitant, I swallowed my fear and proceeded. Stepping inside, I was greeted by a disconcerting sight. The house reeked of neglect and decay. Darkness enveloped the space, revealing only fragments of its vile interior. Faint music drifted from upstairs, adding to the unsettling ambience. With trepidation, I followed the sound, calling out for Claire. Navigating the dimly lit staircase, I found myself faced with two doors. One led to an unlit bathroom, devoid of any presence. Instinct guided me towards the other door, where the music emanated. Trembling, I summoned the courage to announce my arrival. Approaching the door, the music abruptly ceased. Footsteps echoed through the room, accompanied by muffled conversations. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, nearly causing me to lose my footing on the stairs. Fear gripped me as I questioned the choices that led me to this chilling moment. The severity of the situation dawned upon me, urging me to escape the clutches of this nightmare. Without hesitation, I turned on my heels, determined to descend the stairs and flee. However, as I spun around, my eyes caught sight of a figure clad in black, donning gothic makeup and long, dark hair. Simultaneously, the door behind me swung open, revealing another individual, confirming that I had fallen victim to a cruel catfishing scheme. "Ethan, hey, it's Claire. I'm glad you could make it," the imposter declared with an unsettling smile. The realization hit me like a freight train. I was being lured into a trap, manipulated by a group of deranged individuals. Panic coursed through my veins, urging me to fight or flee. In that moment, instinct compelled me to choose flight as my best chance for survival. Dashing into the nearest room, which happened to be the bedroom, I swiftly locked the door, barricading myself from the imminent danger. Outside, my pursuers relentlessly pounded on the door, twisting the doorknob with desperate ferocity. Their voices pleaded and taunted, commanding me to unlock the barrier that stood between me and a fate too horrific to fathom. Frantically scanning the room, my eyes fell upon a toothbrush. It was a feeble weapon, but desperate times called for desperate measures. I clutched it tightly, prepared to use it as a last resort, aiming for vulnerable areas like the neck or eyes. The gravity of the situation became overwhelming as I realized the true extent of the danger I was in. Gathering my waning courage, I noticed a small window obscured by a shower curtain. It seemed like my only means of escape. With trembling hands, I pulled back the curtain and assessed the narrow opening. It appeared challenging, but it was my only chance at survival. Ignoring the racing thoughts of the horrors that awaited me outside, I made the impulsive decision to attempt a daring escape. Squeezing my body through the confined space, I maneuvered onto the roof with a mix of relief and trepidation. My heart pounded against my chest as I fought to maintain balance, desperate to avoid slipping into the clutches of those who sought my demise. Surveying my surroundings, I searched for the safest route down, desperately seeking an escape from this foreign nightmare. Luck was on my side as I spotted a trampoline nestled in the backyard below. With a surge of adrenaline, I leaped from the rooftop, landing on the bouncy surface. The trampoline catapulted me upward, granting me precious momentum to propel myself out of that wretched place. With every ounce of strength I possessed, I sprinted towards my car, fueled by sheer determination and the instinct for self-preservation. The adrenaline coursing through my veins masked the exhaustion threatening to engulf me. Miraculously, there was no sign of my tormentors pursuing me. It seemed that for now I had managed to elude their clutches. Driving away as fast as my trembling hands allowed, I reached for my phone and dialed emergency services. A voice on the other end reassured me, and I shared every detail I could recall about the house and its sinister occupants. The police promised to investigate the matter thoroughly and urged me to make a formal statement. Later that night, officers arrived at my home, providing an update on their findings. The abandoned house, which had become a haven for malevolence, held 2 lifeless bodies, the tragic remnants of the group's malevolent activities. These monsters, who referred to themselves as the Holy Eternity, were a twisted black metal band that preyed on innocent victims through dating apps, using an attractive facade to lure them into their web of horror. The police had managed to apprehend 2 of the murder suspects, but were actively pursuing the remaining members of the deadly group. The revelation sent shivers down my spine, amplifying the gravity of the danger I had narrowly escaped. The realization that I had come face to face with psychopathic killers left an indelible mark on my psyche. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that lurked behind the seemingly ordinary facade of the world. Haunted by the traumatic experience, I made a solemn vow to myself never to venture into the treacherous realm of online dating again. The allure of meeting new people and relieving my boredom was forever tainted by the harrowing encounter. The trust I once had in others shattered, replaced by an everlasting sense of caution and suspicion. Months passed, and the wounds inflicted by that fateful night began to heal, albeit leaving behind deep scars. I sought solace in the company of trusted friends and family, finding comfort in their unwavering support. Together, we navigated the labyrinthine path to recovery, piecing together the fragments of my shattered sense of security. As time went on, I became an advocate for online safety, sharing my harrowing tale as a cautionary reminder to others. I actively participated in community forums and awareness campaigns, urging individuals to exercise vigilance and prioritize their personal safety when engaging in online interactions. Through my story, I hope to spare others from falling victim to the sinister machinations of those who preyed upon unsuspecting souls. Nevertheless, the experience left an enduring impact on my life. Nightmares haunted my sleep, each one a chilling reminder of the terrors I had encountered. Trust became a fragile commodity, requiring immense effort to rebuild. Every creaking floorboard, every unfamiliar face, triggered a surge of anxiety that threatened to engulf me. Yet, amidst the lingering darkness, I found strength. The adversity I had faced served as a catalyst for personal growth and resilience. I channeled my fear into determination, vowing never to allow myself to be a victim again. Empowered by my survival, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery, exploring newfound passions and pushing the boundaries of my comfort zone. Over time, the shadows of that horrific night began to fade. The scars that adorned my psyche transformed into badges of strength and resilience. I refused to let the actions of a twisted few define my life, choosing instead to embrace the beauty and joy that still existed in the world. However, the memory of that encounter would forever serve as a reminder of the darkness that resides within the human soul. It was a cautionary tale etched deep within my being, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable evil. And so, I moved forward, forever changed but not broken. The foreign horrors that had once consumed my life now served as a constant reminder to cherish every moment, to never take safety and security for granted. In the depths of my being, I held on to the glimmer of hope that someday, the world would be free from the clutches of such malevolence, and true connection could flourish without fear. It was the summer of my 8th grade year, a time of anticipation as I prepared to transition into high school. Those few months of freedom felt like a blissful eternity, filled with video games, sleep, and basketball games with friends. It was during this summer that a unique opportunity presented itself, an entire week alone at home. My parents trusted me implicitly, considering me a responsible and mature kid. To us, it didn't seem like a big deal. After all, I had my cell phone and access to my dad's credit card for emergencies. I was genuinely excited to have the house to myself, and little did I know the horror that awaited. Looking back, some people argue that it was irresponsible of my family to leave a barely 14-year-old alone for such an extended period. However, we didn't expect anything bad to happen, and neither did I. It was an extraordinary circumstance, and my parents rarely left me alone for so long. In fact, even now, at 19 years old, I still live with them. Ever since that fateful day, I haven't been home alone for more than 24 hours at a time. It was a Friday night, around 11 p.m, when my phone chimed, indicating a new text message from an unknown number. Curious, I read the message. It simply said, "Hey." I responded, asking who they were, and their reaction was unexpectedly hostile and passive-aggressive. They berated me for not recognizing their identity, and despite my apologies and explanation about losing contacts on my new phone, their annoyance persisted. I assumed it was someone I knew playing a prank on me, so I silenced my phone and resumed playing my beloved PlayStation. After about 10 minutes or so, I heard a faint knock on my bedroom window. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but a creeping paranoia urged me to investigate. I cautiously pulled back the blinds, peering into the darkness. No one was there, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It was as if a foreboding sense of impending danger loomed over me, suffocating the air. I surveyed the house through various windows, hoping to catch a glimpse of anyone, but to no avail. Nevertheless, an eerie atmosphere settled, as though something terrible was about to unfold. Fearing the worst, I reached for my phone to call my mom. To my dismay, I discovered that I had no service, a rare occurrence in our area, where cell reception was usually excellent. Panic coursed through my veins as I realized I had no means of contacting anyone. I felt utterly helpless. As I contemplated sending a message over Wi-Fi, I realized that the person who had been texting me wasn't using an iOS device, rendering iMessage useless. Anxiety consumed me, and I paced back and forth in the living room, desperately attempting to regain a signal. Suddenly, I heard noises emanating from outside, the direction of our back patio. My instincts drove me toward the sound, hoping to discern its origin. Straining my ears, I listened intently, and amidst the silence, I heard a chilling cry for help, agonizing screams that pierced the night. My heart pounded in my chest, and every fiber of my being screamed danger. The voice was pleading for assistance, and I couldn't ignore the dire situation unfolding before me. Though I had planned to defend myself against the harasser, I also felt a responsibility to help whoever was in distress. I had received boxing training and believed I could handle myself. This was my chance to stand up against the torment. Swallowing my fear, I stepped outside into the darkness. The only sound accompanying me was the chorus of crickets. I yelled into the night. Despite the passage of time, the traumatic events of that night continued to haunt me. The incident weighed heavily on my mind, and I found it increasingly difficult to trust others or feel safe in my own home. Nightmares became a regular occurrence, each one vividly replaying the horror I had experienced. My parents did their best to support me through therapy and counseling, recognizing the profound impact the incident had on my mental well-being. However, it was an arduous journey to heal the wounds that were left behind. The fear lingered, casting a shadow over my daily life. As I entered high school, I became withdrawn and isolated. I struggled to connect with my peers, always feeling like an outsider burdened by a dark secret. The weight of the guilt I carried, even though it was an act of self-defense, consumed me. The whispers and stares from classmates only intensified my anguish, while my family and close friends remained supportive. The scars from that fateful night were deep. Trust was shattered, and a profound sense of vulnerability plagued me. The once carefree and optimistic teenager was replaced by someone who constantly looked over their shoulder, hyper-aware of the dangers lurking in the world. With time, therapy, and the unwavering support of loved ones, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I found solace in creative outlets, expressing my emotions through writing and art. It became a cathartic process, allowing me to process my trauma and find glimpses of hope amidst the darkness. I also dedicated myself to studying self-defense and personal safety, determined to never again be caught in a position of helplessness. It was a way to regain control and empower myself, channeling my fear into a proactive approach to protect myself and others. Despite the progress I made, the incident continued to cast its long shadow over my relationships and my sense of self. It became a defining chapter in my life, shaping my perspective and approach to the world. However, I refused to let it define me completely. As the years passed, I carried the lessons learned from that night with me. I became an advocate for personal safety, sharing my story to raise awareness and promote self-defense education. I joined support groups for survivors of trauma, finding solace in connecting with others who had faced similar challenges. While the scars would always be a reminder of what happened, I discovered resilience within myself. I gradually learned to trust again, to let people in, and to believe in the possibility of healing. The journey was arduous, but I refused to let fear control my life. Today, as I reflect upon that harrowing night, I am reminded of the strength and courage that emerged from the darkness. The incident may have stolen my innocence, but it also ignited a fierce determination to live a life driven by resilience and compassion. I continue to carry the weight of that experience, but I have transformed it into a force that propels me forward. I embrace each day with gratitude, cherishing the moments of joy and finding purpose in helping others overcome their own struggles. The horror story that unfolded in my 8th grade summer has become a part of me, woven into the fabric of my existence. It is a reminder that even in the face of unspeakable fear, there is a flicker of light that can guide us out of the shadows and towards healing, growth, and ultimately a renewed sense of hope. Approximately 10 years ago, when I was 15 years old, sleepovers with friends were one of my favorite things to do. Given the strained atmosphere at my own home and a sense of embarrassment about my family, I often sought solace in spending nights at my friends' houses. This particular incident occurred on a sudden night when I was staying at my friend Chase's house. Chase's parents were well off, and their home was an inviting place to be. Whenever I visited, we would engage in a wide range of activities. Chase's dad had a basement man cave that was the epitome of entertainment, featuring a massive 65-inch TV, a pool table, a foosball table, and even a hot tub. Some of my fondest memories were created there, and to this day, Chase and I remain close friends. However, not everything was sunshine and rainbows. Together, we endured some seriously wild experiences. It was around 8 o'clock in the evening when we found ourselves in the basement, our usual hangout spot, goofing off and having a great time. Suddenly, Chase's dad descended the stairs to inform us that he and Chase's mom had a family emergency and wouldn't return until the early hours of the morning, around 4 o'clock. Given our tendency to pull all-nighters on weekends, we didn't mind their absence. In fact, we were ecstatic at the prospect of having the house to ourselves, free from parental supervision. The initial burst of excitement, however, was short-lived. Alone in the house together, we headed upstairs to raid the kitchen for snacks and indulged in a feast. Returning to the basement, we entertained ourselves with a dirt bike racing video game until boredom set in. Eventually, we resorted to lounging on the couch, engrossed in our phones and occasionally glancing at a horror movie playing in the background. As I settled into the familiar routine of a sleepover, a sense of unease began to wash over me. It wasn't the usual homesickness or anxiety I occasionally experienced when staying at a friend's place. This feeling of dread was different, more intense. Attempting to dismiss it as an overreaction, I lay back down and resumed scrolling on my phone, gradually drifting off to sleep. In what felt like mere minutes, I jolted awake to the sound of a door creaking open slowly. It was the door to the basement's laundry room. Peeking over the couch, I was met with a terrifying sight. The door stood wide open, revealing a pitch-black void that sent chills down my spine. I strained to see inside but found only darkness, unable to discern anything within. Part of me desperately hoped it was a figment of my imagination, a trick played by my mind or a vivid dream. However, deep down, I knew it was real. I had witnessed the door opening on its own, heard the creaking sound. Fear clenched at my heart, and I knew I had to wake Chase. "Chase, hey bro, wake up," I whispered urgently. He stirred slightly, but it was clear he was still mostly asleep, unaware of my presence or the urgency in my voice. I had to physically shake him to rouse him from his slumber. Trembling, I recounted what had just transpired, hoping he would understand the gravity of the situation. In his drowsy state, Chase dismissed my concerns, assuring me that such occurrences were common and that I should relax and go back to sleep. While his nonchalant response offered some comfort, it failed to alleviate my discomfort entirely. The thought of sleeping downstairs with the door ominously ajar was deeply unsettling. Reluctantly, we both walked over to the laundry room door and closed it ourselves, trying to regain a sense of security. Afterward, we returned to our respective spots and attempted to resume our interrupted slumber. Chase, unaffected by the recent events, quickly drifted back to sleep, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Despite my best efforts to convince myself that it was just a momentary scare, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. The room felt heavy, as if an invisible presence lingered in the air. I lay there, my eyes fixed on the ceiling, trying to push away the nagging sense of dread. Eventually, exhaustion overwhelmed me, and I succumbed to sleep once again. But this time, when I awoke, it wasn't the sound of a door creaking that startled me. It was a sight that froze me in terror. Standing behind the couch, right above Chase, was a man. He held a knife, and his gaze, disconnected and unsettling, bore into our souls. A scream erupted from the depths of my being, piercing the silence of the night. Chase awoke abruptly, his eyes widening as he registered the presence of the intruder. Fear paralyzed us both, rendering us incapable of movement. The man, his sickly appearance accentuated by a disturbing expression, tightened his grip around Chase's neck, attempting to snuff out his life. Panic surged through my veins, and I knew we had to escape. Summoning every ounce of courage, I seized a nearby sports trophy and swung it forcefully at the intruder's head. A blow connected, and the man crumpled to the ground, momentarily incapacitated. It was our chance to flee. Without hesitation, we sprinted toward the nearest exit, the staircase leading upstairs. I opted for the safety of the outdoors, while Chase raced upstairs, seeking refuge. As I burst outside, gasping for air, I fumbled for my phone, trembling fingers dialing emergency services. I relayed the address, describing the break-in and the danger Chase was still facing. Heart pounding, I re-entered the house through the same door I had exited, the silence enveloping me. It felt unnaturally quiet, and a sense of foreboding settled deep within my bones. Suppressing the queasy feeling, I ascended the stairs, each step producing a faint creak that felt deafening in the silence. And then I heard it, the agonizing, gut-wrenching scream that echoed through the house. Chase's cry for help pierced the air, a desperate plea that seemed to go on forever. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I sprinted toward his location, terror urging me forward. The scene that greeted me at the top of the stairs will forever be etched in my memory, a struggle for life unfolding before my eyes. The intruder had cornered Chase, his hands wrapped tightly around his neck, choking the life out of him. Time stood still as my mind raced, searching for a way to save my friend. Spotting a nearby trophy shelf, I seized another trophy and, without hesitation, brought it crashing down upon the assailant's head. He crumpled to the floor once more, granting us a momentary reprieve. Seizing the opportunity, Chase and I fled outside, seeking refuge in his treehouse until the authorities arrived. Minutes stretched into an eternity as we clung to each other, our hearts pounding in unison, our breaths ragged. Finally, the sound of approaching sirens shattered the stillness of the night, and a glimmer of hope washed over us. When the police arrived, the intruder had vanished without a trace. Despite our detailed descriptions and the information we provided, the authorities were unable to apprehend the intruder. He remained at large, his identity and motives shrouded in mystery. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that he could still be out there, posing a threat to others. In the aftermath of the terrifying ordeal, Chase and I found ourselves grappling with a mix of emotions. Relief washed over us, knowing we had escaped with our lives, but the trauma lingered, leaving its indelible mark. We sought solace in each other's company, offering support and understanding as we processed the events that unfolded. The incident brought Chase's family closer together, prompting them to fortify their home security and take extra precautions to ensure their safety. It also prompted conversations about personal safety and the importance of being vigilant, even within the confines of familiar spaces. As the years passed, Chase and I remained steadfast friends, our bond forged through shared experiences and the resilience we demonstrated that fateful night. We became advocates for personal safety and frequently shared our story as a cautionary tale, urging others to prioritize their well-being and trust their instincts. Though time had a way of dulling the sharp edges of our memories, there was always a lingering sense of unease when we reminisced about that night. The man's face, with its hauntingly disconnected expression, haunted our dreams and seeped into our subconscious. It was a long and arduous journey, but with time, patience, and professional guidance, we gradually regained a sense of normalcy and learned to cope with the aftermath of the horrifying encounter. To this day, we remain vigilant, always mindful of our surroundings and committed to ensuring our personal safety. The incident served as a stark reminder that danger can lurk in unexpected places, and it underscored the importance of maintaining a sense of awareness and preparedness in the face of potential threats. While the man who invaded Chase's home that night may have eluded capture, we hold on to the hope that justice will one day prevail. Our experience serves as a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the resilience we possess when confronted with unimaginable horrors. But amidst the lingering fear and unanswered questions, we strive to embrace life, cherishing each moment and nurturing the bonds of friendship that helped us weather the storm. Our shared journey through that nightmarish ordeal solidified our bond, reminding us of the power of resilience, love, and unwavering support in the face of darkness. Before I made the decision to move to Indiana with my girlfriend Leslie, I resided on a ranch in the remote town of Hartville, Wyoming. This small, tight-knit community boasted a population of barely 50 individuals, with a significant portion being members of my own family. Growing up without my mother, who had passed away from heart disease, left a void in our lives. Her absence was deeply felt, as she had brought immeasurable joy and love to our family. Amongst my relatives, I had 3 brothers, a sister, and my father, with a handful of aunts, uncles, and 1 cousin residing nearby. Leaving them behind to embark on my own path was bittersweet, as I had always dreamt of the bustling city life and pursuing a career as a veterinarian. However, Leslie and I shared a strong bond from the moment we met, and what initially began as a long-distance relationship blossomed into an 8-year marriage filled with love and unwavering support. Our initial weeks in Indiana were filled with excitement and a sense of new beginnings. Though I missed my family back in Wyoming, everything seemed to align perfectly, and happiness permeated every aspect of my life. Leslie had recently purchased a house, and I joined her there, leaving behind the desolate solitude of my previous home. Unlike the isolated ranch in Wyoming, our new residence in Indiana was situated closer to civilization, only a short 5-minute drive from the nearest city. Yet, amidst the joy and optimism, we faced a significant challenge, the unsettling history and eerie rumors surrounding our new house. Some of the stories circulating were grounded in truth, supported by the experiences of previous residents who had fallen victim to break-ins over the past 2 decades. Our neighbors confirmed these incidents, and their accounts only deepened our concern. Additionally, Leslie had mentioned seeing a mysterious man lurking around the property on 3 separate occasions before my arrival. Each time, he would approach the house during daylight hours, casting menacing gazes through the kitchen or dining room window. Despite reporting these incidents to the police, the man always vanished before they could apprehend him. Rural areas often boast kind and friendly inhabitants, predominantly composed of elderly individuals or families with children. However, there exists the occasional outlier, a true oddball. The countryside provides refuge for individuals seeking anonymity, including sex offenders or drug users trying to evade the law or society's scrutiny. Needless to say, the presence of this unknown man deeply troubled both Leslie and me, as his actions were understandably unsettling. Though I wasn't scared per se, I remained concerned. It was impossible to predict the intentions or capabilities of a stranger. To assuage our fears, I assured Leslie that we would be safe. I possessed a pump-action shotgun, a .45 handgun, a revolver, and an assortment of knives and daggers, providing us with a sense of security. One fateful night, while we were engrossed in a movie and drifting off to sleep in the living room, an unexpected, thunderous knock jolted us awake. Startled, I swiftly retrieved my shotgun from the closet, bracing myself for the worst. Peering through the blinds, I caught sight of the man, and Leslie confirmed that he was the same stranger who had repeatedly intruded upon our property. At this point, he remained oblivious to our presence. Summoning my courage, I opened the front door, preparing myself for confrontation. But to our astonishment, he vanished into thin air. Stepping outside, I thought I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. Instructing Leslie to retrieve the .45 handgun and wait in our bedroom, I scanned the surroundings, calling out to the intruder, urging him to reveal himself. That's when I noticed something amiss. The side door of our seldom-used shed was wide open. Suspicion gnawed at me as I cautiously approached the shed, the faint sound of shuffling emanating from within. The absence of light made it impossible to discern what lay inside. Determined not to alert the intruder, I refrained from making a sound, observing and strategizing my next move. Yet, consumed by a mix of anger and concern for Leslie's safety, I couldn't suppress my impatience any longer. The man's persistent harassment had crossed a line, and I refused to let him get away with it. I reluctantly abandoned my stealthy approach and braced myself for the worst-case scenario. Taking a step forward, I unintentionally triggered the shotgun, its deafening blast shattering the eerie silence. The man, now only 10 feet away from me, seemed unfazed. Panic washed over me as he continued his relentless advance. Without hesitation, I pumped the shotgun, its metallic click echoing in the night air. The confrontation had reached a critical juncture. We were locked in a tense standoff. Pointing the gun directly at him, I sternly warned him to leave or face the consequences. His mocking retort only fueled my determination. He dared me to pull the trigger, hurling insults in an attempt to provoke fear. But my family's safety was non-negotiable. My resolve solidified, and I steeled myself for any eventuality. Suddenly, the piercing wail of police sirens pierced the darkness, growing louder by the second. Panic washed over the intruder's face as he realized his fate was sealed. A twisted smile of satisfaction adorned my face as I relinquished my grip on the shotgun, confident that justice would finally be served. In a decisive surge of adrenaline, I tackled the intruder to the ground, employing a full Nelson hold to restrain him until the authorities arrived. Relief flooded through me, knowing that Leslie had heeded my silent plea for help by contacting the police. A rapid sequence of events had left little time for explicit communication, leaving me uncertain if she would make the call. Minutes later, the police arrived, and I reluctantly released my grip on the intruder, surrendering him to their custody. Gratitude washed over me as I realized the gravity of Leslie's actions. Despite the delayed response during the previous incidents, she had acted swiftly in this critical moment. Nevertheless, our relief was tinged with a lingering unease. We knew that obtaining a restraining order could only provide a limited sense of security. If the man were to be released from jail or if he had already been released, nothing could entirely prevent him from returning. Our peace of mind remained elusive, and the specter of his potential return haunted our thoughts. Leslie and I were determined to leave this house of horrors behind, but the path to relocation proved more arduous than anticipated. Leslie had exhausted most of her savings on the down payment, leaving us financially bound to our current residence. We were forced to endure the uncertainty, clinging to the hope that we would eventually find a way to move on and rebuild our lives in a safer environment. Family remained our unwavering priority. The harrowing encounter served as a stark reminder of the lengths we would go to protect our loved ones. As we navigated the aftermath of this chilling experience, our bond strengthened, fueled by a shared resilience and the unbreakable commitment to safeguarding our family's well-being. In the face of adversity, we stood united, prepared to confront any future challenges that lay in wait. Determined and unwavering, we refused to let fear dictate our lives. And so, with a mixture of trepidation and hope, we held tight, bracing ourselves for what lay ahead. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, as we persevered in our shared goal of finding a safer haven for our family. During that time, we took every precaution to fortify our home against potential threats. We installed a state-of-the-art security system, reinforcing doors and windows, and even adopted a vigilant neighborhood watch approach with our neighbors. The tight-knit community rallied together, recognizing the importance of unity in the face of adversity. As we delved deeper into the history of our Indiana home, we uncovered more unsettling tales that added weight to our decision to leave. Whispers of inexplicable occurrences, unexplained disappearances, and the dark past that seemed to shroud the very foundation of the house only fueled our resolve to escape its clutches. Each passing day became a balancing act, teetering between the familiarity of our current residence and the desperate desire for a fresh start. We scoured real estate listings, attended open houses, and explored potential neighborhoods that offered the promise of safety and tranquility. It became our shared mission, a relentless pursuit of a future untethered from the horrors of the past. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings against the intruder progressed slowly. He was found guilty and sentenced to imprisonment, offering a brief respite from the constant threat that had loomed over our lives. However, the lingering doubts and fears persisted. We knew all too well that prison walls were no guarantee of permanent safety. Amidst the tumultuous search for a new home, Leslie and I found solace in our unwavering bond. We leaned on each other for support, finding strength in our shared determination to protect our family at all costs. Our love grew deeper, forged in the crucible of adversity as we weathered the storm together. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of searching, we stumbled upon a quaint suburban neighborhood that resonated with our aspirations. It exuded a sense of tranquility and security that we had longed for. With bated breath, we signed the papers, taking our first steps toward a future unburdened by fear. The process of moving was no small feat. We meticulously packed our belongings, bidding farewell to the house that had been both a sanctuary and a source of nightmares. Memories, both beautiful and haunting, were carefully packed away, carried forward into the unknown. As we settled into our new home, a sense of relief washed over us. The weight of the past slowly lifted, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and possibility. We reveled in the simple joys of everyday life, savoring the ordinary moments that had been stolen from us for far too long. But we remained vigilant, knowing that the scars of our past would forever shape us. We vowed to never forget the lessons learned, to cherish our loved ones, and to prioritize our safety above all else. The horrors we had endured had taught us the immeasurable value of resilience and the strength that lay within us. As the days turned into years, the harrowing tale of our encounter with the intruder became a distant memory. It served as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing each precious moment. Our story became a testament to the power of love, courage, and the unyielding determination to protect what matters most. And so, we embraced our new chapter with open hearts, forever grateful for the resilience that brought us through the darkness and into the light. Our journey was far from over, but we faced the future hand in hand, ready to create a life free from the shadows that once plagued us. In a faraway land, where unfamiliarity lurked, an eerie incident unfolded. It happened during my junior year of high school, when an urgent call to the bathroom disrupted my day. My stomach churned violently, besieged by a dreadful ailment. Racing through the dimly lit hallway, my ears caught an unsettling whistle drifting from the other end. As I neared the restroom, the source of the sound became apparent. Someone was already inside. Though inconvenienced, I dismissed it, for I desperately needed the solitude to alleviate my imminent gastrointestinal catastrophe. Hastily, I claimed the stall and endured the unpleasantness that ensued. To my bewilderment, the unseen man remained in the bedroom, persistently whistling and humming. Despite catching only a fleeting glimpse of him, I pondered whether he was a janitor. His lingering presence marred the privacy I sought, as discomfort gnawed at me. With a mix of embarrassment and haste, I finished my ordeal and ventured out to wash my hands, avoiding eye contact with the enigmatic stranger. Anxious to return to class promptly, aware of the consequences of an extended absence, I braced myself for what happened next, a moment that shattered my composure. The janitor, having taken an unexpected interest in my direction, approached me, invading my personal space. His breath grazed the nape of my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. Helplessly, I turned to face him and uttered a baffled "what the heck" meant. A cold, emotionless expression adorned his face, soon replaced by a twisted, unsettling smile that etched itself indelibly into my memory. Troubled and puzzled, I hurried back to class, convinced that the man was unhinged. Upon returning, I confided in my friend via text, only to discover he had encountered the same janitor, an unsettling connection. Yet, we failed to follow through on reporting him to the principal, swept away by the currents of daily life. Later that day, as school ended, my friend Elias, another close companion named Peyton, and I embarked on our customary walk home. Our post-school excursions often led us to nearby eateries, parks, or other leisurely pursuits. Today, we plan to visit a beloved diner, taking the familiar trail that traversed school grounds and spilled into a neighboring neighborhood. Midway through our conversation about the creepy janitor, Peyton noticed a figure in the distance. A jolt of recognition struck him, exclaiming, "Isn't that the janitor from school?" Bewildered and fearful, we stared intently, confirming his suspicion. "Peyton, let's turn back," he urged, but I pressed on, with Elias following suit. Engulfed by trepidation, we continued forward. As we approached, the janitor fixed his gaze upon us, halting our steps. Determined, we marched past him, ignoring his presence. Yet, he shouted after us, extending an unwelcome invitation to hang out, an absurd notion given his age and position of authority. Unsettled, we quickened our pace, only to find the janitor now chasing us, brandishing a menacing knife. Panic consumed us as we screamed for help, sprinting for what felt like an eternity. Eventually, we lost sight of him, gasping for breath, our voices still echoing with desperation. The next day, we discovered the truth about the imposter. Together with our concerned parents, Elias, Peyton, and I visited the school, reporting the harrowing ordeal to the police and principal. Astonishingly, the school authorities were oblivious to the man's true identity. He was no janitor. Unbeknownst to them, he was a convicted sex offender who had been preying on minors for years. How he managed to infiltrate the school undetected was a disconcerting mystery, one that sent chills down our spines. The revelation struck a chord of urgency, emphasizing the dire need for heightened security measures within the educational system. Schools should be sanctuaries, where children can learn and grow free from the clutches of such disturbed individuals. The impostor's audacity was revealed further when we learned of the court orders he had violated, which mandated that he maintain a safe distance from children. It was evident that he harbored intentions far more sinister than mere intimidation. I shuddered at the thought of what might have transpired had we not escaped his clutches. The incident left me grappling with the incomprehensible darkness that exists in some people's minds. It was a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and the need to protect the vulnerable from those who would seek to harm them. The scars left by this horrifying encounter ran deep, serving as a constant reminder of the fragility of our sense of security. As we collectively processed the trauma we had endured, our community rallied together. The school administration, law enforcement, and concerned parents united to address the gaps in security and ensure that such a harrowing incident would never be repeated. Stricter background checks, improved surveillance systems, and increased awareness campaigns became the cornerstones of our shared commitment to safeguarding our children. Through this dark chapter, we emerged with a renewed sense of resilience and a determination to reclaim our peace of mind. It was a harsh lesson, reminding us that evil can manifest anywhere, even in the hallowed halls of education. But in our united front, we found solace, hope, and the strength to rebuild trust and protect one another. The impostor, now apprehended and facing justice, served as a haunting reminder that darkness can lurk in the most unexpected places. May this chilling encounter serve as a testament to the unwavering resilience of our community, and a catalyst for change, ensuring the safety and well-being of future generations within the school's sheltered walls. Story 2. It was just another typical day at school, and I found myself in the midst of 10th grade. The incident I'm about to recount happened shortly after our third hour class. During lunchtime, my friends and I engaged in our usual shenanigans, goofing off and enjoying our brief moments of freedom. We devour our meals in a mere 5 minutes, dedicating the remaining time to playing games and engaging in various pranks. Halfway through our lunch break, the POW system abruptly crackled to life, emanating an urgent announcement that sent shivers down our spines. The voice on the intercom instructed us to initiate an emergency lockdown, and the gravity of the situation was palpable. It was not a drill, this was the real deal. Mr. Harrison, The principal sounded genuinely panicked as he conveyed the message, further intensifying our unease. Despite the seriousness of the situation, some of my friends dismissed Mr. Harrison's urgency as part of his theatrical nature. However, a sense of foreboding gripped me, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. Perhaps it was the fear of the unknown or a momentary lapse in judgment. But when the school's power abruptly shut off, my friends thought it would be amusing to sneak out of the cafeteria through a side entrance that led to the upper floors. Against my better judgment, I decided to join them, driven by an inexplicable mix of curiosity and peer pressure. Once we ventured into the dimly lit hallways, my friends and I dispersed, each pair embarking on their own explorations. At that moment, it was only Andrew and I who continued our escapade while the others vanished into different corners of the school. The darkness enveloped us, rendering visibility scarce. Our only source of light was the feeble illumination filtering through the cloudy day's gloom. The silence was shattered by an eruption of gunshots, each sound echoing with a chilling resonance. Panic washed over Andrew and me, propelling us into a frenzied sprint towards the school's exit. Fortunate to be near the main entrance, we hastily darted outside, our hearts pounding in our chests. We instinctively sought refuge behind the school, navigating our way through the dense woods beyond. A soccer field loomed before us, and with trepidation, we made our way across it, silently praying not to be detected by the authorities or anyone associated with the chaos unfolding inside. The blaring sirens grew louder, a cacophony that underscored the urgency of the situation. While we knew the police were there to apprehend the shooter responsible for the gunfire, we couldn't help but feel paranoid that they might consider us delinquents evading the lockdown. The weight of our actions and the potential consequences loomed heavily over us. Fear and anxiety coursed through our veins as we huddled together, attempting to calm one another amidst the tumultuous storm of emotions. We were determined not to be mistaken for the assailant, desperate to dissociate ourselves from the psychotic individual who had fired those shots. Unbeknownst to us, the police were focused solely on capturing the genuine suspect and had no knowledge of our unauthorized absence. However, we chose to err on the side of caution, prolonging our concealment. Eventually, our luck ran out as the police conducted a thorough sweep of the premises, and we were discovered. The police swiftly apprehended us, their stern demeanor leaving no room for negotiation. It was only after we explained our impulsive decision to hide that they realized we were not involved in the shooter's motives. The culprit turned out to be a student from a completely different school, just a year younger than me. Fortunately, no one had been injured during the incident. The young individual who had fired the gunshots claimed that he intended to harm a specific girl, but his plan had been thwarted. Strangely enough, I couldn't help but notice the uncanny resemblance between him and me. We shared the same height, hair color, and even dressed similarly on that fateful day. It was an eerie coincidence, but the police quickly dismissed any connection between us once we provided a detailed account of our actions. That day served as a stark reminder of the consequences that can arise from making impulsive decisions. I learned a valuable lesson about the importance of adhering to safety protocols, especially during emergencies. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on me, and I vowed never to underestimate the potential dangers lurking in our seemingly ordinary lives. The incident also led to a broader reflection on the significance of school safety and the measures put in place to protect students. It prompted discussions about improving security protocols, conducting regular drills, and raising awareness among students and staff members. The community rallied together, emphasizing the need for vigilance and fostering an environment where everyone feels safe and secure. In the aftermath of this chilling experience, I emerged with a newfound appreciation for the value of personal safety and the importance of following procedures. I shared my story with others, urging them to learn from my mistakes and prioritize their well-being. It served as a catalyst for change within the school community as we collectively worked towards creating a safer environment for all. While the scars of that day may never fully fade, it serves as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the significance of preparedness. I am grateful that no harm came to anyone, but I remain haunted by the close call and the profound impact it had on my perspective. Story 3. This chilling incident unfolded on the final day of my high school journey. As a senior, I was filled with excitement and relief, knowing that once this day was over, my high school years would come to a close. However, amidst the anticipation, a tinge of sadness lingered in the air. The realization that I would be leaving behind cherished friends and embarking on a new chapter in college weighed on my heart. That particular day, I found myself in a dismal mood due to unsettling family issues unfolding at home. Fifth hour arrived, and I begrudgingly made my way to biology class. The subject itself didn't bother me, but the teacher, Mr. Johnson, made it an unbearable experience. He was notorious for his mistreatment of students, engaging in shouting matches and even breaking a student's phone. I had personally been threatened by him in front of the entire class. Although I had no desire to attend his class that day, I decided to skip it altogether. Seeking solace from the chaos, I took refuge in the library, planning to lay low until 6th hour. Hidden among the computer section, I pretended to do schoolwork while secretly engrossed in games on my phone. Little did I know that this peaceful facade would soon crumble. Out of nowhere, the school intercom blared, announcing a lockdown. Though initially assuming it to be a routine drill, the distant sounds of muffled screaming down the hallway quickly shattered that illusion. Reality sunk in as I realized we were facing an actual threat. Panic gripped me, and I hastily sought shelter within the library, crouching beneath the computer desks, hoping it would provide some semblance of protection. Time stretched agonizingly as I waited for the intercom to declare the end of the lockdown, but the announcement never came. For what felt like an eternity, fear consumed me as I lay there, clutching my phone tightly. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me, and I checked my messages to find a flood of texts from my biology classmates, warning me that this was not a drill but a genuine emergency. My heart sank as I responded, assuring them of my safety while disclosing my whereabouts in the library. The eerie emptiness of the library, devoid of teachers or students when I first arrived, intensified my fear of being alone in this dire situation. Yet, there was nothing I could do except hope for the ordeal to end swiftly. However, my respite was short-lived. The silence was shattered by the sound of footsteps running down the hall, and dread took hold of me. The library door swung open, and a figure entered. With bated breath, I peered out from beneath the desk, catching a glimpse of a dark, shadowy figure roughly my height. As a flashlight pierced the darkness, my heart raced with terror. Summoning every ounce of courage, I emerged from my hiding place, attempting to defuse the situation. "Tyler, what the hell are you doing?" I exclaimed. To my shock, it was Tyler, a close friend from middle school with whom I had drifted apart in high school. His tearful eyes met mine as he brandished a gun, his emotions unraveling before me. Taking control of the situation, I pleaded with Tyler to lower the weapon, emphasizing the importance of making amends and seeking help. Together, we walked toward the office, where a teacher guided us to the waiting police. As a witness, I provided a detailed account of the events, while Tyler cooperated fully. It was a stroke of luck that he had found me, as I had been one of the few friends he believed he had left. I shudder to think what might have happened if he had encountered someone else. Truth be told, Tyler's troubled past of enduring relentless bullying in a tumultuous home life, coupled with his underlying mental health struggles, provided some understanding, though not justification, for his horrifying actions. This incident serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need to raise awareness and take collective action to prevent such acts of violence, particularly within the context of school shootings. While I may harbor personal resentment towards Tyler for his choices, it is crucial to acknowledge the deeper societal issues at play. We must strive to create an environment that fosters empathy, support, and early intervention for individuals grappling with mental health challenges. It is truly disheartening and unsettling that some individuals are capable of perpetrating such acts of terror. The magnitude of their actions is beyond comprehension. As a society, we must come together and implement measures to identify warning signs, provide accessible mental health resources, and foster a culture of inclusivity and kindness, ensuring that no one is pushed to the brink of such darkness. In the aftermath of that harrowing day, I learned a valuable lesson about the importance of empathy and understanding. It is crucial to look beyond our immediate circumstances and extend compassion to those who may be silently struggling. By doing so, we can hope to prevent future tragedies and create a safer, more supportive world for all.